Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Super Action Statue JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Free figure. I think this might be the first female one that I've reviewed, and I'm assuming it's a female because it has breastises, but you guys know I haven't seen this series yet. It's on my to-do list. You can let me know. I'm guessing it's a female though. Alright, so this figure is kind of more basic than some of the other ones. As you can see, the body has a lot less going on, but the parts that are going on look really darn cool. I can't say it's my favorite figure out of the bunch, but I do really like some of these components a whole bunch. So let's get it off the stand and take a closer look. This figure stands roughly 6 1/4 inches, which makes it just about 16 centimeters, maybe just shy of that. Of course, if you adjust the torso a little bit, that will vary slightly. This figure's paint job is a little more basic than some of the other ones. The majority of the figure is this kind of light blue with some pearly dry brushing shading going on, not dry brushing, airbrushing shading going on to it. It does have a really nice effect, a very metallic look, and all of those little studs on the body are sculpted and painted. So that gives a really nice effect. Another cool effect are these silver and black spots on the arms and legs. They're super shiny silver with that black low light going on, so it makes them look even shinier, so that's awesome. But my favorite part is these shoulder pads, favorite part is these shoulder pads. Let's try grammar. Very nicely done. Because they're sculpted and super shiny and have the black on there, they look even shinier, so that's awesome. And then the head just looks really cool. There's a lot going on for this figure for being so plain. Before we go into the figure anymore though, let's look at the accessories. Of course, she comes with these two fist hands in the package. They almost always have the fist hands on them in the package. Nice silver paintwork on there again. Then we also have two very open style pose hands, two kind of open style posed hands, and two just kind of open palm, closed finger style pose hands. We do also have a pointing finger and some interchangeable heads. So we already looked at the primary head, but let's take another quick look. It has these kind of translucent yellowish green sunglasses or glasses or visor, whatever you want to call it, on top of a really nice sculpt and paint job. So that's pretty cool. And we have another one of those with the open mouth instead of the closed mouth. So that is a nice option. Definitely gives you some posability options. And then we have one which is quite different and has a different pattern for the head, for the face, and completely different glasses. So if you're into varying poses, this is definitely going to be one that you want to use. And then of course, lastly, we have our standard JoJo's Bizarre Adventure display stand, which has the 3-piece upright. You guys are familiar with those by now. The head is on a hinge with a peg at the top, which we can expect from this line of figures. Nothing really special there, but it gives you really good range. In fact, she can look all the way up. I don't know if that's a necessity for the character, but they nailed that, so that's really good. The neck itself is on a ball peg, but you're not really going to be able to move it unless you pop the head off first, so let's try that. Let's pop the head off. And then, yeah, you can rotate it a little bit. It doesn't have that much play in the other directions, but it's technically a ball peg, not just a swivel. For the shoulders, you're probably wondering, hey, I don't see any articulation. How's it going to work? Well, I'll tell you, these things are glued on to that textured black and silver piece in there, and those are free floating. They can rotate around. And then the shoulder itself can rotate, and you have your ball hinge. So they do get in the way a little bit of the lateral movement, but it still works just fine for everything else. Because they are connected to the shoulder, you still get your pretty much all the posability that you're going to want. You saw already we have our bicep swivel, double jointed elbow as you would expect. They swivel at the top and the bottom, but again, be careful. They often have a little flashing on the pegs, which means they're not going to want to swivel, so be extra careful with that. Same thing for the ball hinge for the wrist. You get really good range out of it, but when you try to rotate that ball hinge around, you may run into some issues, so be extra careful. For our upper torso, we have a single ball peg, which I'm super happy that they didn't do it down here at the lower part of the rib cage. They did it at the top part, because that gives you really good range, and it doesn't break up the sculpt. So I like that a ton. Then we have another ball peg down here, which again, gives you really good range. Very happy with that. For the hips, unfortunately, it's not a new story here. We have just these kind of limited, although hers are particularly good, they're just standard ball pegs. So they do come really far forward and pretty far back, but not so far out to the side. And we do have our thigh swivel, which is the peg itself, but you do have that additional thigh swivel. This one's stuck. Will this one go? Yeah. We have an additional thigh swivel at that break in the sculpt, so it's not bad. For the knees, we have our double jointed knees, which give you really good range of motion. No problem at all with that. It will rotate at the top if you want it to, just be careful. And then for the ankles, we have that same type of joint again. She has particularly good range. You can get an ankle rocker out of it, so her articulation is actually particularly nice, and she has a toe hinge, which is satisfactory. So for being basically the same articulation as all of the other figures, hers is particularly well executed, so I really do recommend this figure. I recommend most of these guys, I think. But this one I do like a whole bunch, even though the design is not my personal cup of tea as much. I do appreciate it a whole bunch, and I like the figure as a whole, so I do recommend it. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I have loads of playlists, so you can check through those. I've reviewed tons and tons of figures, but I also upload a video every day, at least one. So usually figure reviews, sometimes gameplay, sometimes game reviews, movie reviews, TV talk, all kinds of stuff. Custom figures, obviously, as the name would imply. So make sure you subscribe, guys, and in the meantime, keep collecting.